G'day everyone, Wesley here from the Mental Awareness Foundation and also Trusted Business. So I guess you could say knocking off two birds this morning. Today's guest is Dan Argent, and I really wanted to get Dan onto the podcast or onto my video series for a number of reasons. Mainly because Dan's actually been a massive supporter for Walk for Awareness and the Mental Awareness Foundation. It is his 5th year in supporting us, so I wanted to get his insights into that. But also Dan has a very, very successful real estate business that in my eyes, I've been in my industry for 20 years, which is pest control, and you could arguably say that's a lot to do with real estate. And I've seen Dan go from just a couple of people to a small army, and I just obviously wanted to get his insights there because with growing a business comes a lot of stress. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome Dan Argent.
Thanks, buddy. Oh yeah, round of applause.
Round of applause for the mate. Great to see you, and I must say, mate, thank you for your awesome energy. I've really appreciated me personally, and it's actually rather inspiring, mate.
Thanks, man. It's the coffee.
yeah. Coffee with Dan. Mate, I guess to talk about the Mental Awareness Foundation, it is your 5th year in getting behind us, with particularly being a premium sponsor. I guess, mate, what is it that you enjoy about the walk, and why are you so happy to get behind us for so long now?
Mate, it's such an important cause.
Yep.
And I mean, roughly know, and I'm sure you can give us more detail, but like it's the #1 killer between, I think it was like 15 and 40. Is that kind of it?
Yeah, 15 and 45, but yes, it's for that age bracket, it's huge. Yeah.
But it's #1.
Yes.
And I'm like, no one talks about it.
Yeah, no one does. Yeah.
And that's the shitty thing, is that no one talks about it. So people talk about, speeding or texting while you're driving, and these are all bad things, right? Or,
Yes.
they talk about cancer, and these are all bad things. But suicide is the #1 leading cause of death.
Yes.
And that's a big bracket, right? 15 to 45. I heard the other day, and you can probably tell us, I know you're interviewing me, not the other way around, but men was like somewhere in like the 3/4 of that range.
Correct. Yes.
And I just think that's bullshit. Are we allowed to swear on this?
No, 100%. Yeah, no, there's no.
Yeah, and I think
no holding back.
And I think that's bullshit.
Yeah.
That no one talks about
Yeah.
it. And so.
Well, it's the old thing. Like, we have no problem, which I've mentioned before. We've got no problem when we hurt our knee or we're feeling sick from a flu perspective to go to the doctor or the physio. But all of a sudden, when upstairs isn't really feeling that great, we don't either one talk about it or go and seek some professional help or.
Yeah. So that's why I like it's the Walk for Awareness, and really it's an awareness campaign.
Yep.
And you making people aware, and also giving people a platform to be able to talk about things.
Yes.
And like, let's take that stigma away. So look, I love what you guys are doing. I think it's great. I've seen it grow from 250 people in our first one to 2,500 people last year, and I'm sure it'll be bigger again this year. But it's been really beautiful to kind of see the conversations that happen. And so for me, what I love the most is the conversations that happen on the walk.
Yeah.
And you guys don't control that. You just provide a platform for it to happen. It's not the before and it's not the after. It's the during the walk. People just start opening up and talking about things. And so I think it's really important. I think we've got to raise awareness. We've got to remove the stigma and just help people understand that mental health. I would dare say that mental health affects everyone in their life, either personally or through someone that they know, and I would dare say most people personally, at some point or another. And that's not full-blown depression necessarily, but it could be anxiety or stress, or it could be depression. I met up with someone last week, and he said, it'll either have happened to you or it will happen to you.
100%. Yep, absolutely. And mate, I even know from myself, yes, I don't suffer from a massive form of depression, but I've had stages of depression in my life. And what we're trying to do here is encourage people to either talk about it or know that it is really normal. Mate, you actually sort of answered my next question. You've seen the event go from 250 people to 2,500. And you talked about, obviously, you've noticed that platform for people to have conversations there. You've seen the event evolve. what have you noticed from that, from your side of things, from 5 years ago to now?
You know, this shirt that you're wearing, which
Yes.
let's get that logo. Let's get that
And
logo.
that's why we're here.
Let's
Yes.
get that logo
Yeah.
out there. No, mate. You know what I've seen happen is, mate, I walk every morning and I walk down to sort of the river, Howard Smith Wharves kind of area. The amount of people that I see wearing those
Awesome.
shirts and, you know, our company logo just
Yes.
on their sleeve, and I'm like, yeah, that's good. But it's not about that.
No, thank you.
The people wearing the shirts. And so the cool thing is that more people are going,
Yep.
and they're wearing the shirt that says "Walk for Awareness." And you know, last year someone reached out to me after the event, and we've kind of been in communication now for about the last year about mental health and research that they're doing that can help, you know, probably millions of people and stuff like that. So. You know, I think there's more people talking about it. You guys are creating a movement, which is awesome.
Thank you.
And that's been the biggest change that I've seen.
And mate, and that's the biggest thing about the event. It's trying to break that taboo about trying to get people to talk and walk at the same time. You know, hence the walk. But I you know, it's not perfect, but I do see there is a bit of a shift. Maybe it's a generation shift, or over the years, because there is becoming a bit more awareness behind mental health, that I think people are coming forward, even though it is the leading cause of death for young people. However, at least people that have the courage to talk about it.
I feel like I see people talking about mental health all the time now, and it might just be anxiety, or, you know, time out, or meditation, or like whatever. But I feel like I see people talking about this kind of stuff all the time. I feel like young people are like hyper aware of their mental health, and, you know, like, let's just use that word, because it doesn't have. I mean, people kind of go straight to depression or these other things. Mental health is just the health of your mental state.
Yes.
And I feel like I see people talking about that kind of stuff all the time now.
Mate, you're in the real estate industry, and, like, you know, mental health is a big issue in that industry. You could probably argue in any industry. But, mate, you know, why do you think stress or mental, I guess, health issues are rather prevalent in today's society?
It's the pressure to succeed.
Yep.
And it is any industry. You and I are just close to the real estate industry, but, you know, if you look at, you know, people in law or in business or, you know, anything, it's there. So to answer your question, I think it's the pressure to succeed. Social media puts so much pressure. I mean, you think about it. How many people buy a belt from Target and post it on Instagram? Fucking no one, right? But they post the Gucci belt, which is like the whole joke, right? And who goes and buys like a new Camry, sorry, you know, Toyota, but who goes and buys a new Camry and posts it on Instagram and goes, you know, check this, you know, like no one. So they only post like their Gucci belts and Rolexes and, you know, nice cars and great days out. And so every time, like, you pick up your phone, wherever it is, every time you pick, oh, there it is, we're recording with it. Every time you pick up your phone, all you see is success and billboards and TV but I think our devices, like, you know, we're addicted to these things now. And so there's just this pressure, and you think everyone's succeeding except for you. Yeah.
And you start comparing yourself.
And you start comparing yourself, and comparison is literally the killer of all happiness. And so, you know, I think there's just this enormous pressure on everyone to succeed in life. And so because of that, we sacrifice so much time for ourselves and things that maybe truly matter in life.
Yeah.
And that is definitely will be leading to mental health issues with people.
And mate, like, I've known you a little while, and you struck me as a very confident person, very self-aware of yourself. However, to make you human, I'm sure there's been tough situations in your life, or stressful situations, you know, where things haven't always been roses. Are you happy to share any moments like that you've had?
I would say there's more difficult moments in my life than great moments. You know, like, there's been so many really, really difficult things, and I don't kind of like lean on them like some kind of crutch or anything like that. But it's funny that you bring it up, because I keep a gratitude journal. Yep. And that's something, that's the first thing I actually do as soon as I wake up. Yep. Actually, as soon as I wake up in the morning, before I open my eyes, I give myself a pep talk because no one else is going to give it to me. So I give it to myself. And before I let myself open my eyes, I give myself this little pep talk. And then I turn on the lamp, reach over, grab my gratitude journal and write.
Awesome.
So it's funny that you bring this up because I actually just wrote down last week one of the things I'm grateful for is all the difficult things that have happened in my life.
Yeah.
Because without those things, I wouldn't be who I am today.
No.
And I'm proud of who I am today. And so, my dad was out before I was one. I, really grew up kind of alone because my mum worked 3 jobs. So she'd work all day, come home, make dinner, then go and work a second job at night, and then I'd be asleep, and then I'd kind of see her in the morning, and then that was it. And then on weekends she worked as well. And I was like, so, that's hard because
life's
kids,
been tough.
yeah, because kids need that kind of family environment to really sort of thrive. And so I kind of just grew up really young.
Yeah.
And so, but the upsides to that is I was the man of the house from a really young age. So it made me grow up really early and be super responsible. I learned an incredible work ethic from my mum, there's been a whole heap of things. Marriage fell apart and numerous things. I lost my mum, and she took her own life, and it's another reason why this is so important to me, raising awareness and trying to help others. But all of those really difficult things that have happened, Tony Robbins, who we're both a fan of, says life happens for you, not to you. And I think if you kind of look at things and I try and go, what's the lesson I can take from this? What can I learn from this to get better? And I've learned something from all of those. And I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for all those, shitty things that have happened. So, there's plenty to be grateful for. But if you can also be grateful for and find the meaning in the things that aren't so wonderful, it really does, I find, set you up for a pretty full life.
I think we're touching on mindset, like the mindset, every day you're always going to be challenged. Every day you're always going to have something that's stressful or perhaps isn't ideal for your situation. But you just touched on a word that I love, lesson. There's always a lesson in it, even in something that is rather horrible, can be one of our greatest lessons.
For anyone watching this video that hasn't seen it, I would highly recommend a book by Viktor Frankl called Man's Search for Meaning. And it is basically about, he was in the Nazi concentration camps.
Yes,
and he said
I've heard about
the
this
people the difference between the people that survived and died were the ones that could find meaning in their suffering. If they could find meaning in their suffering, they could get through it. And if they couldn't, they would often be the ones that would die. And it's a dark book, but it's an incredible book because it teaches you to find meaning in the hardest moments. And so, I have shit go wrong every day. Every day something goes fucking sideways. And I think when you're trying to achieve a lot, things are bound to go wrong. But I go, what's the lesson in this? What do I extract from this? This has been sent to teach me something. Find the lesson. As soon as you can find the lesson, you turn every failure into a win.
And mate, and thank you for sharing your story. I know that sharing stories is a great way to connect with people. Mate, I'm very well aware of your past. What is it that you do to keep yourself mentally healthy?
I try and spend time on myself. I kind of had this sort of realization over the last 12 months about priorities. And so where I had, I feel, gone wrong for a long time, I think any high performers, any, alphas, any A-type personalities, work is going to probably be 80% of your life. And I don't mind that.
It's just who you are.
It's who you are. I enjoy what I do. And I don't think I'd have it any other way. I can relax, but in short increments. And it's literally just when work is your first 80%, we're going to think of ourselves as a battery, right? And so you've only got 100% of charge. And if you give work the first 80%, then there's only 20% left. And 20%'s got to go to you, your partner, kids, family, friends. So that's a lot of stuff that's got to get that 20%. So not only has it all got to share that, not very much percentage, but also it's the last 20%. So like the battery's drained,
Yeah.
so it gets the worst 20% as well. And the huge realization that I had was that work can get 80%. Everyone talks about balance, and like for the most part, balance is bullshit if you want to achieve a lot.
Yep.
Because anyone who achieves a lot, imbalance is just part of that. That's why they achieve a lot. That's not just in business, but if you're an Olympic athlete or anything else, you have sacrificed something to achieve extraordinarily well in some other area of your life. But my I guess my learning is that work can be 80%. It's just got to be the last 80%, not the first 80%.
Cool.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100. Yeah, you've just flipped it. So
I've just flipped it.
which you mentioned priorities.
And so
priorities is
And so if you've now got the first 20%, this is your best 20%. What should you do with it? Number one, you.
Yep.
And people might think that that's selfish. I actually think it's the least selfish thing that you can do.
Correct.
Because if you make yourself your number one priority, then you have so much more to give everyone else.
Yep.
So much more.
100%.
Second, partner. 3, kids, if you have them. I think a lot of people get that mixed up and put, say, I live for my kids, and
it's
your partner,
absolutely.
kids, friends, family, work, 80%.
Yeah.
And so to answer your question, I've made myself a priority, and by doing that, it means I fill my own cup.
Yep.
And I think when your cup is full and overflowing, you've just got so much to give everyone around you. And what a beautiful relationship that is with the world, when rather than having a cup that's a bit empty and you're just trying to take from everyone, you're just full and overflowing, and you've just got so much to give everyone. Yeah. It's a different shift. And so, to answer your question, I spend the first sort of 2 hours of every morning just on me. So my morning starts the night before, in that I have 2 alarms set every day, one at 9:30 p.m. and one at 5 a.m. So 9:30 p.m. tells me that I have 30 minutes to be in bed.
Yes.
So it's like an alarm to stop whatever I'm doing, be in bed within 30 minutes, shower, whatever. So it's 10 p.m. I sleep till 5 a.m. So I get 7 hours sleep. There's this great podcast. We can probably post the link. That if you get any less than 7 hours sleep a night, you are causing brain damage.
Yes.
People think, I can get away with 4 hours sleep. You are causing brain damage. And so I'm up at 5, and then, as I said, pep talk before I open my eyes, gratitude journal, then I'll meditate, pray, exercise for an hour.
Yeah.
And while I'm exercising, I'm feeding my brain. I'm listening to a podcast, always, podcast or audio book. Then I'll read for an hour. And then I come back and I have a cold shower, and it was just like energizing, and then like a really healthy breakfast. And so I've done all of that from sort of like 5 till 7:30, 8, something like that. And then I start my day. But like, honestly, I'm feed my body, I've fed my brain, I'm feeling great.
It's been you.
Yeah. And so that's what I do. I fill my cup every day, and then the next day I kind of do it again. And I've made myself a priority. And for so long, I would get up, have a shower, get dressed,
go straight to work.
And so it's like this little shift,
Yeah.
but it's fucking massive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And mate, thank you for sharing that. The couple of things: own the morning, own the day, is one thing that I've heard actually just with someone I ran into at the gym. But then also, guys, do look after yourself, because if you look after yourself, you then have the energy to look after others. And you can just see with Dan's energy here that by looking after him, he's inspiring others. Mate, the real estate industry, just to talk a little bit about work, it's cutthroat. There's a lot of pressure, a lot of emotions. You're dealing with people's homes. How do you, I guess, what is your recommendation in dealing with that stress, and what has served you well in your industry for those moments? You could probably argue going through your process in the morning. However, I guess you're out at work now.
Man, it's real stressful sometimes. But I think you've just got to remind yourself that you're not saving lives.
Yep.
And
thank you.
So it's really important
It's
shit.
true,
But it is really important shit, because you've been trusted by someone to look after their biggest, for most people, their biggest asset.
Correct. Yep.
And so, the responsibility that I'd been given was always like really weighed on my shoulders. And at any one time, I would carry 15 to 20 listings. And so that's 15 to 20 people's expectations that I would carry on my shoulders. But, understanding that you're not saving people's lives. There's not lives on the line. So, take it seriously, but not too seriously. Two, I think everyone in my life is an energy vampire. Maybe not everyone, nearly everyone is an energy vampire in that they suck energy from me. So I've got to fill my own energy up. And so you've got to have great mentors. You've got to have great sort of rituals or habits like we talked about. And so that helps enormously. And then I think, and just take breaks. A Formula One is such elite racing. What do these guys race around the track, 300 k's an hour or something like that? It's hardcore, and the fact is they come in and pit. They'll pit 2 to 3 times in a race, right? And so I kind of think, well, if we treat work or business like that, is that I don't think stress is the problem. I think it's that we don't rest as hard as we work, and by actually working in like sprints. Or, like a Formula One car, go like real hard, but then pit. And so what's a pit? Like a pit for us is, in my mind, a break every, I think you should be taking a break every 3 months. And that can just be like a 4-day break, which, could be for most people, maybe a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Or if you're in real estate, it could be a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And you don't miss any weeks of opens and whatever. So, stuff like that, I think is really important.
Awesome.
Yeah. If you rest as hard as you work, you'll be able to handle it so much easier.
And mate, 100%, like you do need a break.
Yeah.
To think that you can just continue on, and you could actually get onto the micro level even per day. You need to sort of have that break. But what does that break look like for you? Maybe that's you going to the gym, or maybe that's you going for a walk, or maybe that's you just sitting with a really good friend and not talking about work. And yada 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 with people. So
I've started breaking up my days a bit. Like on Monday, I do PT at 12 p.m. and on Wednesday and Friday, I do Pilates at about midday.
Yes.
And so I never used to do that.
Yep.
But now it's just like a nice little break in my day. I was talking to someone the other day, and they go running at lunchtime. Yep. So it's going to be different for everyone. But I really like putting that time in for yourself. And I think if you look at life, you speak to people that are older. We're both still pretty young, and we do tell ourselves that.
Yeah, exactly.
But you talk to people that are older, and the advice that I get nearly all the time is enjoy the journey more.
Yes.
And that is just one of the hardest things for me, because I'm just so destination focused, and I think that's it's so beautiful when you've got a clear vision in your life, but the hard part is that when you're clear on your vision, all you want to do is get there, and so you can really miss the journey. And the advice that I get from most older people is enjoy the journey. And so if you think of it as a journey, or a marathon, not a sprint, then you are going to take the breaks and understand that I'm going to be here this year, next year, the year after, the year after that, the year after that. Work's not going anywhere. So just take the little breaks along the way. I don't know, I think, for me, that's the answer.
Yeah, I call it chipping away. Don't think you need to have one big
hit,
and chip away at your goals or chip away at the journey. And you are right, man, because most of the time when you actually do get to that result, like you're like, oh yeah, cool. But it's not the result, it's the journey as you go. So mate, thank you for sharing that. And that, mate, I guess this brings me to my next question. Like, I've literally seen your business grow from you and one other to a small army.
It actually started with just me in the spare bedroom straight upstairs. And mate, then it was me and one other, and then now there's 30 of us.
Wow. Mate, I guess what makes your business different? What puts you apart to others?
Mate, we said vision before, but honestly, vision, leadership, drive, when you know where you're going, I think that's one of the most important things is 100%. You've got to know where you're going. I don't know what the percentage would be. I mean, everyone talks about 80-20, it probably is. Like, I reckon only about 20% of people know where they're going in life and actually have a clear vision or direction. I think it's really important. And so in everything that I've done, I've kind of known where I want to get to, and then we just work on that every day. And then you can just break it down into little bite-sized chunks. That I kind of liken it to, you get in the car, you've got to rough idea where you want to sort of go, but not really. You don't have an address that you can put in the navigation. How are you going to get to your destination? You're just going to drive
Or
around.
how you can convince people too that you know where you're going.
Yeah, and then how do you know when you get there? So, because you didn't even really know where you were going. So, it's a silly analogy, but you can apply that to business.
Yep.
That if you know where you're going, so like we had a goal, we want to be number one.
Yep.
Okay, well, what does number one look like? Okay, well, you just look up who's number one now, and you see how many transactions they're doing,
Yep.
or how much business they're writing, or how fast they are on the track, whatever it might
Yep.
be. And you go, oh, you've got to be better than that. And then you just go, well, where am I now? So it's like, where do I want to be? Where am I now? What's the gap? Break the gap up into bite-sized chunks.
Yep.
And then you just try and smash, or chip, like you said, chip away at those
Yep.
bite-sized chunks. So, I think that's definitely been a part of it. We've been blessed with some really great people.
Team.
Team. We've been blessed with great people. Ben Wakely joined me when I first started the business, and he and I have been a real powerhouse, and that's been a fabulous partnership. We've had so many great, just unbelievably great agents join us along the journey. We've had incredible support. It's like I'm going to Everest Base Camp in 11 or 12 weeks, and
There's a bakery there.
I've heard.
Because I've been there.
Yeah, I've heard. I'm looking forward to getting a muffin or something like that, and I'm sure I've earned it after walking that
100%.
far. And we talk about Sherpas. Well, we've got Sherpas in our business that carry our packs, and so we've been blessed with that. So, hard work, knowing where you're heading, having great people around you. Not many people achieve greatness on their own. Have been some of the reasons why I think we've done well. Yeah.
And just to share something that we've done in our business is we actually a couple of years ago created a 10-year plan for Trusted. And don't get me wrong, it's not like where each year is exact, but one thing that I did notice within the team, they were actually rather impressed because they're like, wow, these guys want to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's just having that vision. And now yours doesn't have to be 10 years, it could be 5 years, it could be even 3 years. But I know people do appreciate having a plan or a destination to sort of work towards, and
it makes you feel good too, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'll often kind of draw like a map whenever I'm working with anyone. You can bring this all the way down to just like an individual agent or person, and I'll say, where do you want to be? Where are you now? Cool, that's the gap.
Yeah.
So now let's work on smashing that gap. And the growth from here to here will not just be a straight line. It'll kind of be like that.
Yep.
And then that's when you need a great coach, and that's what I do now with a lot of our agents is coach them, and I kind of say I'm your bumper rails, like bumper bowling, and all I aim to do is keep you not going up and down.
Yeah.
Just make sure you keep pinging back to that line that we kind of set out to do. And so having a clear plan also hugely helpful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And mate, we go into my next question. Like I've known you personally, so I've seen you from being, I guess, the seller person to now shifting into a role of just focusing on your staff or perhaps that vision.
Yep.
What have you noticed with that shift? What have you seen within your team? What have you enjoyed about that change?
One of the things I really love about it is watching our people grow. And, we've got one agent who, from a standing start this year, will write 400,000 in GCI. I was with one of our agents last week or the week before, and she's just said, since joining, her trajectory's gone like this, and then, like this. I love that. So, I get a lot out of that. I get a lot out of seeing, our team grow. And I've got so much knowledge that I've accrued over the last 15, 16 years in real estate that I feel like it's the right thing to do to share that and give that to others now. And so, that's awesome watching other people grow and achieve their goals and become the best version of themselves. I love that. I think, and for me, I get far more out of that than just listing and selling houses myself now.
And mate, this takes us into our next question. I love how you start answering my next question. But mate, like what have been some of the biggest lessons out of this career that you've had, and then this slight shift? Looking back now, what are the lessons out of it?
In all of real estate, or just the shift to not selling?
All of real estate. I guess that journey. That journey from when you've started from that one person up in your room to where you are now.
Yeah, I think the number one would be add value. Because when you add value, everything's easy from that point on. So that applies to your customers. I always think, okay, you're paying me, so like last year, my average sale price was just over $1 million, which means my average commission was just over $25,000 per sale. And $25,000 is a lot of money, right? And I used to think, well, how do I add 50 grand's value?
Yeah.
Minimum.
Yeah.
How do I double what I charge minimum? And so I had strategies around that. And so much fed into that. And service is another thing that feeds into that. Like, it's so easy to provide great service. It's so easy. And I say to everyone all the time, to be great, just don't be shit.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not shit, then you're great.
Yeah.
Because that's the spectrum in not just real estate, but like restaurants and so many things. And it's because we've all become used to shit service that if you're not shit, you're great. And so people would say, oh my gosh, like you just make things so easy. And I'm like, why? And they're like, oh, well, you brought the contract over for us to sign. And I was like, what did you expect? What do other people do? And they're like, oh, well, they'd just get us into the office or email it and we'd have to print it out. And I'm like, no.
It's simple things.
Drive to them. Take a pen. Sign here. Done. I'd have people say, oh, look, it's really hard to get a hold of us. My husband's working in here and I'm over here. And I go, cool. I'll drive it to them, get them to sign it. Then I'll drive it to them and get them to sign it. Like end of last year, I sold a property for $2.7 million. It was about 10 o'clock at night. One of the vendors was in their home in Paddington. The other vendor was working at the airport. So, I drove there, got one signature, drove to the airport, got the other signature, done.
Yeah.
I don't know, like to me, that's just providing great service, which provides great value.
Yeah.
But, they couldn't believe that I did that. So, I say to be great, just don't be shit. And it's so easy to be great. You just do the basics really well.
Yeah.
Turn up on time. I do a little thing, for any real estate agents that are watching this, and if they're not in real estate, they can apply it to a different business. But I think if I'm selling my property and I know my agent has taken a buyer through, what do you think I'm thinking? How'd the inspection go?
Correct.
Are they interested? That's all I'm thinking, right? So tell them. So, I would always say that I will ring you within 5 minutes of every inspection finishing, whether it's an open house or a private inspection during the week. Within 5 minutes of me walking out your door, I'll have called you with an update. No one does that. Well, not many do that. But it's just so simple because I'm driving anyway back to the office or to my next showing. So just while I'm driving, just connect up to the Bluetooth and call them and say, look, they're interested or they're not interested. Bang, done. And then I don't have to think about it later either. So it's better for me.
It's off your mind.
It's off my mind. And I've told the vendor exactly, what's going on. I don't know, like stuff like that, mate. It's really easy to provide great service, but add value.
Yeah.
If you're adding value and you can minimum, so if you're in pest control or if you're in real estate or if you're doing anything and you charge a fee for what you do, double minimum what you charge in terms of what you offer, and you will always have a great business.
And you'll have that repeat client. We actually at Trusted, we call it the trusted experience. And I always say to my team, the pest control part is the easy part. It's the customer service part that's the most valuable. Turning up on time, or how was the experience? As soon as they ring the number, oh hello, did we speak politely? We just implement all these little things, which to me are no-brainers as well. Yeah. But to the others are such big things, they
just turning up on time, mate.
100%.
No one does it, and so all of a sudden, okay, great, you're in the top 10% now. Providing maybe a small window. Okay, we'll be there between 2 and 3, not like 12 and 5. And you think, I don't have time to wait for that. Yeah.
Well, that's our part 1 for today. Whilst I've got Dan's attention, just a small little promo here for Walk for Awareness, which is on Sunday, 6th of October. I don't know why I just started. I was thinking Sunday, 6th of December, but it's in October because it's Mental Health Week. Now, Dan's going to be there. Now, last year he was dancing the whole way through. So, Dan, Are you going to be dancing this year?
I will be dancing, and I'll be dancing all the way. Can we look at that? Look at that.
Awesome.
Look at that. Mate, I'll be dancing the whole way. Our crew will all have our Bluetooth speakers, and we're going to make it fun. And you know, it's not to make light of it, but we're actually celebrating life.
Yes.
And I've experienced depression firsthand, personally, and I've lost my mum, and so you know, no one can take away the seriousness of it from me. But we're celebrating life.
Yep, correct.
And so when we're dancing and having fun, that's what we're celebrating.
And I think that's, and just to touch on the event itself, like, you know, yes, you know, it's mental health. We're talking about depression. We're talking about suicide prevention, everything like that. But what I love about the event is it brings great energy, and it's lighthearted, it's good fun, and it's safe. You know what I mean?
It's safe,
and we're celebrating, as Dan was saying, celebrating life. And honestly, how good is life, particularly when you live in Brisbane or
Absolutely.
Australia?
Yeah.
So that's part one. We'll come back at part two. We'll see you soon.